Hey everybody, Jonathan over here on this last weekend of 2023. Can you believe it? We're all thinking the same thing. Where did this year go? I can't believe it's gone. I can't believe we're about to start a new one. We have the whole weekend to think about this because the last day of the year is Sunday. We're not gathering on Sunday. This is why I'm putting out this video early, is so you get a chance to kind of just pause, think, and reflect. And maybe it'll lead you to have some quiet time and some sitting with Jesus, as we like to use that term at the Village. So wherever you're at, wherever you are traveling, if you're home, if you're away, whatever the case may be, hopefully you would watch this right up till the end, because I think it's really, really important for you to listen to. And it's just a thought for our community to be thinking about at home, wherever you're at this holiday season. So I want to leave you with two words on this last weekend of the year. And those two words are going to connect with one more word as we wrap it up. So the first word I want you to think about is a word that you're probably guessing I'm going to talk about. Maybe, maybe not. That word is rest. Why rest? Well, we talk about that not a lot, but from time to time in our church community, and the idea of it and how to balance work and rest and doing a whole bunch of stuff and doing good and also resting. But rest is important for this reason, because in our culture and society, in our world, what normally gets elevated to the top is rushing and overworking, not work, but overworking and racing through things and just feeling the need and the pressure to produce, and not just produce, but continually produce at a very high level. And we clap for it and we say, good for you, look what you did. And then people burn out, and then we don't care for them after that because they're not producing, right? And so the beauty of rest is that it is the opposite of all those things. And we find that in the scripture. We find it in from Genesis all the way to Jesus, the importance and the value of rest. There's a value in work as well, and there's a value in getting things done, for sure. But there's a beautiful value in rest, that you say, I'm not going to make anything. I'm not going to produce anything. I'm not obliged to do anything for these few hours, for this day, for whatever. And for the holiday season, sometimes it's extended, which is beautiful. So rest is important because it's a biblical value, but also because it just, in a subversive way, goes against all those other things: rushing, overproducing, overworking, racing, always being on, keeping your phone on, emailing at all hours of the night, all that stuff. Rest is the opposite of that. The other word I want you to think about today is generosity. It's a really important word. And it's important because, again, we find that as a biblical value as well, but it is really opposite of all these things that we find in our world. The need or desire to accumulate, the issue that many of us have, that we worry about money. It's fine to make money. It's important. We need jobs, all that stuff. But sometimes we over worry about that the same way we overwork, and maybe those things are tied. There's sometimes in our brokenness and in our weak moments, we are selfish and we only think of our needs, and we tend not to think of other people's needs. And then some of us have this issue of hoarding and keeping things to ourselves and accumulating, again, all these things, or materialism, because we want something bigger and better because we're not happy with what we have. And then what we really see in scripture is the difference between, this is really important, the love of money and the stewardship of money. The love of money, the scripture says, is not good. In fact, Jesus says it's evil. But stewardship of money is different. It's a resource that you have. God's blessed you with it. And now that God's blessed you with it, what do you do with it? How do you save for the future? How do you live below your means? And then how do you give a portion of that away? And that's important. And you think, oh, John's doing this because, it's the last couple of days of the year. And of course, we want to encourage people to give. Well, yeah, that's part of it. But it's actually a beautiful principle. I don't want you to just end the year giving. I want you to start the year giving. I don't want you to just end this year saying, I want to be a little bit more generous. Was I generous enough? But think about how you start 2024 and include that principle within your life. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way to live. And so I want to encourage you in the generosity aspect that A, it's opposite of all those things. But B, being part of a community like ours, it's really important to think like, what's my contribution in this community? How is God calling me to participate in this? Have I participated enough? Some of you are at this point and say, yes, I've given. I could say I've given I've done that. I don't need this last couple of days to do this. But maybe you're in a different situation and say, I don't think I gave enough. Have I really asked God that question? What do you want me to give? So we have a couple days to think about that. Before midnight on December 31st, you can contribute to our 2023 budget. All the beautiful things that we did, it's listed on our Instagram page. I'm not going to talk about them here. Go and read them. It's amazing. So we're grateful for all that stuff. So think about that word generosity, because it goes against all the other things that our world is always pushing. But here's the one word that connects both of those words, and that word is trust. In order to be a person of rest, you need to trust God. You need to trust that God's going to provide. You need to trust that God has your back. You need to trust that God is present. You need to trust that even in the midst of crazy, terrible things, God is with you. He's either grieving with you or he's celebrating with you. And so for us to truly rest well, we need to trust God well. And the other word of generosity, for us to truly be generous and be people of generosity, people that don't worry about money, people that steward money but don't love money, people that give out of not just our abundance but out of our regular provision. The only way we can be people like that is if we trust God with what we have. Trust that God is our provider. Trust that no matter where your check comes from, whatever company, organization, school board, whatever, that God's the one that signs it, not them. And so in order to be generous, we need to trust. And so my hope and prayer is that you can be people of rest and we can be people of generosity, but we can only be those two things if we are people of trust. Proverbs says this, some of you know this verse well. Trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do. Everywhere you go, He's the one who will keep you. Don't assume that you know it all. Instead, run to God. And that, folks, takes trust. And so my hope and prayer for me and for you and for all of us listening today is that we would be people of rest, that we would be people of generosity, and that we would recognize that for us to be those two things, we need to be people who trust God with all our heart and all our lives. I hope this is something that you needed to hear on this final weekend of 2023. Thanks for listening. Looking forward to seeing you on January 7th, because that is our next gathering. We are not gathering this weekend. Peace, love, be restful, be generous, trust Jesus. Bye.